we were sitting in the green room one time, all the girls, and just chit-chatting and stuff. And then most everyone left, and I pulled Amy Lou aside, and I was like, you know, one of the first songs I ever sang in public was Boulder to Birmingham, and my youth minister taught it to me, and we were at summer camp, and it meant so much to me. And I told her that. Okay, so we're sitting on this couch like this.
Yeah.
And she has her, I don't know, what is it, 55 Everly Brothers Gibson there. She picks it up and sings me the song. I like right now thinking about it, I want to cry. It was one of the most generous things anyone had ever done for me or to me, or just, It was such an amazing moment. And that was the moment that everything in my head changed and clicked about my job, my responsibility to the community, other musicians, and the whole thing. I was like, oh my God, if she can do that, I can do anything.
Welcome to Curious Goldfish, a podcast community where music and curiosity come together through interesting conversations with the music makers of our world. I'm your host, Jason English. You can find Curious Goldfish on all the major podcast and social media platforms. And of course, we have all of our content on our website, curiousgoldfish.com. Welcome to Curious Goldfish, a music podcast about more than music. I'm your host, Jason English. I'm not quite sure how you came across this episode or the channel, but I appreciate you spending time with me. If you can just take a quick second and follow Curious Goldfish on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple, I'd certainly appreciate it. My guest today is Michelle Malone. She got signed to a major music label in the late 1980s, walked away from it, and went independent about a decade before it was the cool thing to do. 17 records later, she's still doing it her own way. Most artists spend a career defending what they've built. Michelle spends hers reinventing herself and looking for new ways to express herself. She's in 3 bands right now, and she's picked up a paintbrush and has started to showcase her art in art shows alongside her partner. We recorded this conversation at the 38th Songwriters Festival in January. Michelle talked a lot about friends she loves to play music with, the illogical aspects of releasing albums in 2026, and fond memories of joining the Lilith Fair back in the late 1990s, where she got to spend time with Sarah McLachlan, the Indigo Girls, and as you just heard, Emmylou Harris. So now, from outside of Atlanta, Georgia, here's Michelle Malone. Let's dive in. Michelle, really appreciate your time here in Florida.
Thanks for having me. I've owed you this interview for a year or two.
A year, it's fine. That's fine.
Time flies. Sorry.
Time flies. And we both live in Georgia, but we're meeting up here at the 38th Songwriters Festival.
Yeah.
So you've been here before. Has it been a while?
No, it was 24.
Okay, so just a couple years ago.
Yeah, I think I've played this thing at least 10 times.
Yeah.
I was here the first year, and it was so much colder than this. And they had a stage outside on the beach, and I was playing with the Indigo Girls, and we were freezing our tails off. We had hats and, fingerless gloves, and we were just dying. But looking back on it, it's pretty funny. But then it was not so funny.
Yeah. Well, I think it snowed last year towards the tail end.
No.
I had gotten out of town, but I heard it was snowing. So, yeah, it's January. I mean, what are you gonna do?
You never know what you're gonna get here, and that's what I like about the South.
Yeah.
It's a buffet of weather. If you don't like the weather, just wait a few days. One year it was in the 70s here.
Yeah.
During 30A. I almost said South by Southwest. Where am I? So.
Well, as a pure, authentic songwriter for so many years, I guess, why is a Songwriters Festival, an event like this, important to you?
I mean, honestly, I just like to come see my friends because it's the only time I see them.
Yeah, right.
It's the only time I see you.
Right.
It's the only time I see Wyatt Espelin. And, well, I mean, I talk to people on the phone, but I never get to see them because when you're playing your own shows, you don't see other people unless you're at a festival. And this is the one in the South that all my friends predominantly come to. And, you know, selfishly, that's why I like it. I do think it's important to have a specific, a festival specifically for songwriters. So I'm honored that I get to come back again and again.
I'm not sure when this will be published, but I do want to ask about recent travels. So you had an interesting trip to New York City with Canyonland, which is a project that you've been doing for a while, I guess.
I started it in 2021.
Yeah.
Because in COVID, I started live streaming, and I just, you know, was playing my own songs, and then I started playing my records in their entirety, learning those songs again, and then I was just like, what else can I do? Oh, I love Linda Ronstadt. I love Crosby, Stills, Nash. I love Neil Young. I love all this stuff. So I learned a set of those songs, and mostly I already knew them just from growing up on my mother's music. And that's how it started. I played that show. I loved it. Everyone loved it online. And I thought, you know, I've got to find some people to do this with me, just because it's so joyful. And I was lucky enough to get Doug Keys on guitar, Nelson Nolan on mandolin and vocals, and Mark Lehigh Jones on bass and vocals. And that's how it started. But we, you know, play basically songs by Linda Ronstadt and her friends. So little Emmy Lou and all that. It's just funny to me. I'm doing my career backwards because I've never had a cover band. So, and then I did it out of just pure joy, and then all of a sudden it honestly gets more attention than my original work. So we went up to New York and played a conference. You know, it's like a booking conference.
Okay.
But it was great fun for us to go on the road, and then 5 days later I'm here because, you know, it's not exactly coast to coast, but it's top to bottom.
Top to bottom.
From the bottom to the top to bottom.
So you guys don't really go to New York too much, so it feels like that was kind of a little bit of an anomaly. You guys, had a 15-minute set?
Yeah, it's a hit and run gig, and
Yeah.
and you pay to play up there because it's a big conference with you know, 100 or so other bands and 1,000 talent buyers from theaters all over the country, and everyone gets their 15 minutes to. They just want to see if you're as good as you are on YouTube, I think, or on record. And they want to meet you and make sure you're not a jerk, and and just see how easy you are to work with. That's my take on it, you know.
Do you get any feedback, like when you're done, or does it take a while?
From your agent.
Yeah.
You know, he'll give you the inside scoop later, but,
Yeah.
you know, it's just like everything else in the business, whether you're playing covers or your original music. It's just so ironic to me because I used to do this sort of thing all the time when I was signed to a record label and was, you know, playing that game. And then I got out of the game and became independent and just cut all those extraneous ties loose. And I've been doing everything myself for so long that when I finally, you know, put this project together and it started getting attention and they wanted us to go do this, I was so surprised. But you know, I don't mind. I just love to sing, and I mean, obviously, I love to write songs and sing those. But I just love to sing. And after this long of singing my own music, it's kind of fun to sing other people's music.
Okay. So the 15-minute set, I also heard that you guys nailed the ending. The last 4 beats, is that true?
Down to the second.
Down to the second.
Down to the second. It was kind of funny.
How many times did you rehearse that?
Well, we just rehearsed for a couple hours one day.
Yeah.
You know, it's just dumb luck. I paused for a minute. I'll be honest with you. We got to the last song in the set. We squeezed 5 songs into the set.
Oh, shit.
And and right at the last song, I just blanked. And I turned around and I was like, what song are we doing now?
Oh, gosh.
And then, so that's what delayed the set enough to where it went right down to the second. But it worked out just fine.
Right.
It was just fun. And we got up there. I know it was in early January, so January 10th or so. The freaking Rockefeller Christmas tree was still up.
It's still up.
There were still Christmas trees all over the place in the airport and everywhere. And, you know, I also have a Christmas band.
Yeah.
So we were running around taking pictures with all the Christmas stuff. I love Christmas.
No, that's awesome. Christmas in New York is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so you have Canyonland, and then you have obviously your own stuff, and then Michelle Malone duo, which is you and Doug Keys.
Yeah,
everything. How does that all kind of like interplay?
I guess when I find people that I like to play with and like to travel with, I just keep them around. Doug and I have now been in 4 bands together. when we started, he came in to play with Drag the River for a reunion show. Drag the River was my first band in the late 80s, and we were signed to Arista Records, and so, you know, your first band makes such a big impression on you, but the original guitarist didn't want to play anymore, so Doug stepped in and knocked it out of the park, and I just loved him to death, and so then he was in my band, and then he was in, we started a Christmas band called the Hot Toddies, and then we started Canyonland, so we just like to make music and keep busy, and I just love him to death. He's like a brother I didn't know I had, you know.
Yeah. Well, you know, me and my friend, we put on this little backyard show in Roswell, Georgia, and you and Doug came to play that about a year and a half ago, and it was awesome.
It was cool. We enjoyed it. Thanks for
so cool. Yeah. No, you guys sounded great. So, I guess so. Back, your most recent album was released right when you guys did that show. It's called Southern Comfort, right? I remember you played a song during the show, like Mother, Like Daughter, right?
I love that song, yeah.
So you've got that, and I'm sure there's others, but like that one was about your mom. You've had Marlboro Man about your father, right? And then Shine about your wife, right? So I know that your family roots in Georgia go back to like the 1700s.
Yeah, I've got a song called Georgia Maid that's about my grandfather.
Okay.
Growing up in Alvaton, Georgia, and then his people had been there since, the mid 1700s. I mean, it's crazy.
It's crazy.
And a couple years back, my uncle took me down there and showed me his original homestead, which was a 1-room cabin. It was just torn down a couple years ago, which is fascinating to me. But, you know, I walked around it, and I couldn't believe that he and his 5 siblings and parents lived in that. So in the song, I talk about how, you know, basically he got out of there as fast as he could because your choices were to pick cotton. And he said he did that for 1 day, and then he went and joined the army because I guess he figured fighting in World War II would be easier.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Could have been a mistake, but I'm here, so he lived.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the topic of family has been obviously a really important part of, I think, your music through the years. Was that intentional? Like, okay, I'm going to honor whoever the relationship is, or is that just kind of part of the DNA of your musical existence?
Well, you know, for probably the first 20 some odd years or so of my career, I wrote about my thoughts and my feelings, because when you're that young, you just have so much angst and you're trying to work through everything, and you don't really have a lot of tools. So thank God I had music, because I, would either be in a padded cell or jail, and I've come close to both, but music probably saved me. And then, eventually you grow up and you don't have the same anger and angst that you used to have, and you have to sort of look outside of yourself for things to write about. And that's when I started writing about my family, because that's what I know, know, and a few other things.
Yeah. Was there ever a cost to you to be so vulnerable?
I just never thought about it.
Yeah.
I don't even feel like I'm that vulnerable. There are others who are much more vulnerable. So to me, I'm just expressing myself, and that's part of being an artist. I don't think about it.
Yeah. So since Southern Comfort, I guess, are you always writing, and is there something that's on the horizon in the near future?
I'm not always writing. I've decided to kind of back away from it just a little bit, and for example, I'm currently in 3 bands, and I'm tending to those fields, and I've started drawing and painting, and I actually have an art show in May that I'm working towards.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's very abstract, but it's cool. Yeah. And it's just a whole nother way to express myself. And I've been playing music my entire life, and I needed another little avenue that wasn't necessarily about me and maybe didn't have words. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's just a
I
different...
love singing, and I love playing guitar and just sitting around making up music without lyrics. And sometimes the lyrics for me are harder than the music. And sometimes I just don't want to think about it. And I noticed when I started drawing and painting that my brain gets really quiet, which is rare.
Yeah.
My brain's always going 90 miles an hour, and there's 20 different things in it at any moment. So I guess it's using a different part of my brain, and it was such a relief for it to shut up that I love that. It's not to say I won't be making another record, this year or next. I usually do one every 2 years or 3, depending. Yeah. So I'm sure there'll be another one. We could talk about the industry as it is right now, and I mean, do people need to put out records? Because it seems like it's just an advertisement. It costs a whole bunch of money, takes a whole lot of time, and then while you get a lot of self-satisfaction from it, and the listeners hopefully do as well, I don't see the financial reason for it, and it used to be the other way around. Yeah. And I've made 17 records, and I wonder sometimes if I need to make another one or not. Is it just about playing live? I mean, you can still write, and you can still play live shows, but what about albums in the future? Already they're telling us just release singles.
And EPs or whatever.
And that's just so you can get your numbers up on Spotify and crap like that. So and now we got AI in the mix, and I'm just sort of spinning. I'm just going to wait till the dust settles, if it does. Yeah. And in the meantime, I'll just keep doing what I do.
Well, so you were sort of independent before, like, being independent was cool. Like, I think you were a pioneer, early 90s, right?
My first record was independent, but that was in the late 80s, and back then you would just go make a record as a vehicle to get a record deal. So I did that, and then I was with Arista, and then I did not like that. They told me to be more like Joan Jett, which was weird because they met me before they signed me. So anyway, I kind of stepped away from it and got out of it. Then I was independent again. Then I was with another label. I bounced around a lot. And finally, I think around 1999, there was a sea change in the industry, and a lot of people were starting to go independent. And I remember it being a little more difficult then, but it made sense because I've never been very good at working for other people. I've always kind of marched to my own drums. So. Yeah.
So you mentioned Spotify earlier. I remember when you played the Backyard, you were very specific around, hey, I'm not putting my stuff on Spotify, but it is on Apple.
Well, it is.
And then you've got obviously the physical stuff. I guess are there degrees of sort of angst between all the platforms, or is it all?
Well, Spotify, I think, pays the least amount.
Yeah.
And then last year, beginning of the year, they came out with this idea that, you can get 999 streams of any one song, but we're not going to pay you for that. We're only going to pay you if you get 1,000 or more. And we're going to take those pennies that we would have given you and give them to someone else who deserves it more. Or something like that. And that kind of just tanned my hide. And so I did put a few singles up. I don't want to totally shoot myself in the foot, but it was more of an experiment. And I'm still experimenting with Spotify to see, you got to have a presence. But right now, mostly my entire catalog is up there. And so a lot of it, there's so many songs, a lot of it doesn't make a penny. So I'm trying to figure out which ones to take down. How many do you leave up? I should probably just freaking ask AI, then we'll figure it out. And there we are, back full circle.
Well, here we go. I had one more question, though, about the art and this other creative path. Do you think that's a reflection of just growing older and having new interests, or is that maybe a reflection of you? I think because you moved kind of out of the city into the country and just having a different perspective. Like, what do you think is driving that?
Well, I've always kind of doodled and drawn odd-looking little creatures and things, and then I forgot about it for decades. And Trish is an artist, my partner, and I started watching the joy she got out of it, and there's something in the back of my head going, you should really get back into that. You should, and that's what happened.
Yeah.
It was just kind of being in the presence of an artist that inspired me, and once I started doing it, I really enjoyed it because it was just a whole new outlet that I hadn't had in forever, if at all. I started painting these silly little creatures and drawing these silly little goats that played guitar, and now I'm doing some odd abstract stuff. I don't even know what to make of it.
Do you plan to sell it?
Well, I mean, I don't know if anyone wants to buy it, but it's going to be at the show in Noonan, Georgia in May with Trish Land, and she's invited me to be in her show, and I'm just like, are you sure you want me to do that? Because our work couldn't be more different, but it's very exciting for me. And here's another new outlet for me, as long as we're on the different paths subject. A playwright wrote a musical around half my songs and half Amy Ray's songs from the Indigo Girls, and they just came to town. The playwright lives in LA, and she's put on several plays and around the country and things. Anyway, they workshopped it last week and put it on in Atlanta, and it was just so cool.
That's really cool.
So, I got a toe in a couple different worlds, and it's exciting to me to have something new to do with my music or new to do with just a creative outlet.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm not comparing myself to you at all, but as I've gotten older, like I'm like, you know what? Like, why not start a podcast, or why not write a little children's book or get that published that I wrote 20 years ago? I mean, you just never know like what your window is,
I would love to talk to you about that children's book.
Well, it's a bestseller. I think I've sold like 7.
It's hard to sell a book like our CDs.
My mom's probably bought 5, so it's fine. But no, it's cool because it's like I wrote it when my kids were little, and it was just in a journal. And I found it a few year or two ago, and it's like, okay, this is actually somewhat decent, So yeah, it's cool. I have a copy. I'll give it to you.
That's great. I love it.
Because when you signed a bunch of albums that I bought at the show, so I'm happy to sign the children's book.
I would love that.
It's called There's Fuzz in My Belly Button. So it's about the importance of taking baths and stuff. So
I love that.
Yeah.
We all need reminders.
Well, so the next question is really just might sound odd since you have had such a great career, but it's in the spirit of sort of always self-improvement and continuous learning and things like that. So where do you think you are as an artist today, and where do you want to be?
Gosh, I don't really know how to answer that. I talk with Doug a lot when we're traveling, and we are in agreement that we can't believe we still get to play music for a living, that people still come to see us, that we have almost everything we ever wanted and then some. I mean, if you'd asked me 20 years ago,
Right.
or told me 20 years ago that I would have a nice house and a nice home with someone and a nice car and a ton of guitars and amps and yada yada, and people would still be coming to see me, I don't think I'd believed you. So I was talking to James Hall at breakfast this morning. We've known each other since the mid-'80s, and we're like, I didn't even think I'd still be doing this at this age, much less doing it well, and people pay me to do it. Yeah. So, hell, we didn't even think we'd be alive now. So it's pretty fascinating. For me, I'm just grateful that I get to do it. And I try not to think about, where I'm doing it, if I'm in a theater or
Right.
a club, or if I'm playing solo with a band, or how much I'm getting paid compared to that person, or all that stuff. It's just all icing at this point. I mean, I've toured really big places with really big bands and tens of thousands of people, and I've played house concerts to 2 people before. And
that's awesome.
I remember the house concert for the 2 people more than I remember, playing all the big theaters and enormodomes and crap like that. Not that they weren't fun at the time and exciting, but they don't leave an impression.
Yeah.
You don't get to meet the individuals so much. and form relationships with them. And that guy that I played for, we still email once in a while.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, you know.
Well, I'm sure it was a big deal almost 30 years ago when you were asked to join the Lilith Fair, right?
That was cool.
Yeah. And I wanted to ask you about that because you've talked about how that taught you, I'll call it like your Lilith lesson, if I can say that. Lilith lesson?
Yeah.
About just the importance of community. I guess how did that experience inform your community building with all these musicians through the years? You know, because it feels like that's what you're doing with all these different projects.
Well, you know, at the time it was just a gig, and I was happy to be there. And the Indigo Girls were on the tour as well, so I would play in my little show. I think I played at 420 every day in the parking lot on this tiny stage. It was me, Madeline Peru, Beth Orton, and someone else. And we had our little time slots in the afternoon in the parking lot on this stage. You know, and then I would go backstage to the big stage where, you know, the Indigo Girls were with Sarah and Emmylou and who else was on that? Jewel was on that at the time. Emmylou had Spy Boy. So it was every night when Emmylou and Spy Boy would play, Jewel and Sarah and the Iggs and me would stand in the wings and just watch every night. It was so intensely good. But anyway, so we'd hang out backstage, and Sarah would hacky sack with us and bring her dogs out, and we were sitting in the green room one time, all the girls, and just chit-chatting and stuff. And then most everyone left, and I pulled Emmylou aside, and I was like, you know, one of the first songs I ever sang in public was Boulder to Birmingham, and my youth minister taught it to me, and we were at summer camp, and it meant so much to me. Because I think I was 11 or 12, and I didn't know who she was at the time, but that was my introduction to her.
Wow.
And I told her that. Okay, so we're sitting on this couch like this.
Yeah.
And she had her, I don't know, what is it, 55 Everly Brothers Gibson there. She picks it up and sings me the song. I like right now thinking about it, I want to cry. It was one of the most generous things anyone had ever done for me or to me, or just, It was such an amazing moment. And that was the moment that everything in my head changed and clicked about my job, my responsibility to the community, other musicians, and the whole thing. I was like, oh my God, if she can do that, I can do anything.
Yeah.
I mean, that seriously generous.
Yeah.
She didn't have to do that. She could have just said thanks and talked or walked off or something. But, you know,
Great story.
It kind of blows my mind.
Yeah.
Still. And that was 1997.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, almost 30 years ago. So are there musicians and artists that you see yourself as the mentor and a coach? Like, do you play that role, and do you enjoy that?
I mean, I wouldn't call it, I mean, okay, I do mentor and coach beginners who have the chutzpah to contact me. There's a thing on my website for it, and because people are always asking me stuff and questions, and I'm happy to help, but most of the time they start from zero and don't know anything. And so for me, okay, I'm going to charge a few bucks just because this is a business and you need to get that. But all the other people that I know, you know, we all have questions. I ask other people things still, and I help people where I can that are hard workers and that have, you know, an amount of talent that they can go out there and make people feel good. And I think that's really important, to just keep the ball rolling and spread it around, you know.
Yeah.
I love that music brings people together, brings people joy, and it's just such a simple, beautiful thing, you know?
Yeah.
So why not share it with your friends and your podcasting friends and just whomever, you know?
Yeah, you've described it sort of as a buffet to the world, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's so many different kinds of music. I think I've played so many different styles and genres, you know, genre hopped over the length of my career, that I had to start thinking of it either like a buffet or like, when you put your, remember iPods? When you turn your iPod on, it would just randomly play any different, salsa song, and then Bob Dylan, and then a Christmas song, and then all that. So, I feel like that. But life is that way. No one wants to eat the same food every day, every meal. I don't want to hear the same music.
It's back to your pursuits, right? Like, you don't want to play music all the time. You need that diversity of the painting, the art, I
do at this point.
Yeah.
And I have other projects I want to do. I just, I don't know.
Yeah.
I hope to get around to some of it.
Well, last question. So, kind of on the same note, I always like to ask people this. I love the aspect of curiosity. I think it's underrated. I have a full-time job in corporate world, and trust me, like, business people are not that curious. And I think in personal relationships, I think it's important. I guess at this stage in your life and your career, what are you most curious about?
Maybe what the rest of my life will look like. That's more introspective than you probably expected, but I feel like I'm at a crossroads of some sort, and I just don't, up till now, I always knew what I'd be doing. I always knew everything, and nothing ever changed. And then all of a sudden, I'm having different ideas and different wants and needs, and it's interesting. So while I know I'll always play music or sing and play as long as I possibly can physically, I wonder what else will happen. I wonder if that musical will be huge. I wonder if I'll become an artist, a valid artist. And I wonder all these things.
Yeah.
I wonder if I'll ever start running again. Hell, I wonder if I'll ever go back to the gym again. I don't know what's going to happen, but we'll find out. Stay tuned.
All right. Well, thanks for stopping by, Michelle.
I appreciate it.
It's good to see you again.
I'm sorry it took me so long to get you this
no
interview.
Apologies. It's good. Timing's everything. So,
Yeah.
anyway, good luck this weekend and good luck in 2026.
Thanks so much.
All right. Thanks, Michelle.